In this third and final video of this series on the Cardano CLI, we're going to learn how to make a transfer from Alice to Bob and from Charlie to Daisy in the same transaction. In case you haven't watched the previous two videos, then you might want to do that first before following along with this video. Clear the screen, go back to our editor, open this script. This script is a bit more complicated because it involves two different inputs from two different signers and four different outputs. As you can see here in the transaction build raw command, which we use to calculate the fee that will be needed for the actual transaction. Notice that we also indicate the transaction in is now 2 and the witness count is 2. And down here at the bottom at the sign command, we're using the two different signing keys belonging to both Alice and Charlie, which are the owners of the UTXOs that are being spent. Let's go over to the top and start filling out these variables. And in order to do that, we'll need to query Alice and Charlie. So from Alice, we'll use this UTXO and this UTXO from Charlie. You might notice something curious. The UTXOs have the same exact hash, but different indices. And this is because a UTXO's hash is the hash of the transaction that produced them. And the last transaction we did was a transfer from Alice to Charlie, which not only sent 22 ADA to Charlie, but also sent Alice her change back. So the same transaction originated these two UTXOs, which are differentiated by their index 1 and 2. Next, we'll need to assign the wallets that will be receiving change back, which is also Alice and Charlie. The amount of ADA that we want to send Bob, which is 10, and the amount of ADA that we want to send Daisy, which is 12. Now their respective addresses. Bob and Daisy. Finally, the signing key from both Alice and Charlie. Different from the other scripts, this script will need to be run twice. The first time we run this, it will calculate the fee for this transaction. So let's go ahead and run it for the first time. Notice this transaction is slightly more expensive than the previous two. And the reason for that is because it involves more UTXOs in and more UTXOs out, as well as more witnesses to sign the transaction. We copy this value over here and run this command again. Now the transaction was successfully submitted. Let's copy the transaction ID, go back to pre-prod, and inspect. And there it is. Two addresses that the UTXOs were spent from and all the four addresses that received some amount. The first one and last one were change, and then these two in the middle are Bob and Daisy. Let's go ahead and query their addresses to see the transaction. Bob received another 10 ADA, and now Daisy has a balance of 12 ADA. And there we go. We were able to successfully transfer from two different origins to two different destinations, and technically 4 destinations because of the two that received the change in one single transaction. Now, the last part that I want to show you is a good practice of returning this amount to your original wallet, because just like mainnet, the amount of ADA that will ever be available on testnet is finite. So let's not just waste it. Let's return it all to our original wallet. And to do that, there is one more script on our project that takes care of sending back all the ADA to a destination address. This destination address will be the original wallet that funded our little playtime here. So let's go back to this wallet and grab the receive address. This is going to be used as the destination address. So let's choose the first wallet that we want to clear. And let's start with Daisy. So we'll grab this UTXO, index 1. We'll put the total amount of the UTXO and Daisy signing key. And just like our previous script, we'll run this script once, which will calculate the fee. We'll populate the fee and run this script one more time. And that worked. You can check the transaction. There it is. We're able to send 11.83 ADA, which is our initial 12 here minus the fee, back to the original wallet. If we query Daisy's balance, we can see it's cleared out. Let's go ahead and do the same for Charlie. So go back, use UTXO under Charlie's address, put the total amount of the UTXO, change this for Charlie, and it's going to be pretty much the same fee. So I'm just going to go ahead and run this command again. Boom, submit it. You can check pre-prod. It's not there yet. Boom, made it. Query Charlie's address, and it's clear. Now let's do the same thing with Bob. Now, this will be interesting. Notice that unlike Daisy and Charlie, Bob has more than one UTXO, and this will require us to make a couple of adjustments to our script. Let's start by clearing this here and creating one variable for each one of the available UTXOs. And we'll use this one over here. This one over here, and this one over here. Next, we'll sum the total amount on all these three UTXOs, which pretty straightforward math. It's going to be essentially 40 million. Lovelace. Now we'll need the transaction signatory for Bob, which will be signing the transaction. We'll leave this fee empty because we're going to have to calculate this again. And we're going to change a couple of our parameters. So this will be UTXO1, UTXO2, and 3. The transaction in count instead of 1 is going to be 3. And the same thing on the build raw. And that's about it. Let's go ahead and run our script. Calculates our fee, which is slightly higher than the previous ones because, again, it involves more UTXOs. Save the fee. And then send all. Transaction submitted. Let's wait for a moment until the transaction is minted in a block and propagated to the network and query our address again. Boom, made it. Let's query Bob's address, and it's cleared out. And last but not least, let's clear Alice's wallet, which is back to using a single UTXO. So we're going to go ahead and revert our changes to a single UTXO. delete the fee. Update this, clear this, update this with Alice's UTXO, update with the exact amount on that UTXO, give it Alice's signing key, and then calculate the transfer of the fee, again, back to 0.17, use that as the argument, and run our command again. Can go back and query Alice's address, and it's all cleared out. So let's make sure that Alice, Bob, Charlie, and Daisy have all transferred their assets to the original wallet that funded this video, which we go back to NAMI, we can see that it received all the transfers and it's back to pretty close to the original balance. And that's a wrap up for this series on how to submit transactions using the Cardano CLI. In order to run these examples yourself, you will need access to a Cardano node. There's a couple different ways to set up a node, and I will cover them on a future video. But if you want quick and easy access to one, then check out Demeter.run. All the code we use in this series is open source and publicly available on our GitHub. I encourage you to read it through to gain a deeper understanding of Cardano and the extended UTXO model. If you found this series helpful, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and enable notifications. If you have any questions or suggestions, drop us a line in the comments section below. We would greatly appreciate it if you delegated your ADA to Jungle Stake Pool to support our work and help more people work with Cardano.